Welcome back to One Fair Review, everybody. Grant here. As always, it's been a long time. It's been a journey, but today we are looking at Fate Grand Order Absolute Demonic Front Babylonia, the anime season by Cloverworks, and also starring such hit characters from the Fate series that are continued by Type Moon. Man, that's a mouthful of a title. But anyways, today we're looking at Fate Grand Order. I've actually talked about this show a few times before. I've done a few videos on it, so you guys almost know what my thoughts are on the show, but probably not completely. So here we are going to give my absolute unbiased opinion on Fate Grand Order Absolute Demonic Front Babylonia. There we go. Season, this is 21 episodes or 22. I'm blanking out on that right now. So the story summary goes as follows. 2016, the foundations of humanity have been incinerated by the Mage King Solomon. Chaldea, a secret mages organization with a mission to preserve humanity's future, foresaw mankind's extinction in 2015. Thus commenced the operation to repair the singularities in history caused by the Holy Grails dispersed across the time and space. Operation Grand Order. Using the ray shift time travel technology, Chaldea's last master, Ritsuka Fujimura, and his demi-servant, Mash Kyrielite, have traveled to and resolved 6 singularities. Oh, that was fast. Now they depart on their most dangerous destination yet, a civilization in the Age of Gods. BC 2655 Mesopotamia. Ritsuka and Mash soon discover that demonic beasts roam the land, attacking people and towns. Amidst the chaos, the terror lies humanity's last defense, Uruk, a fortress city that acts as a front line for the battle against the beast. The demonic front is commanded by none other than King Gilgamesh himself, the king of heroes, some might say, who sought aid from the heroic spirits and took the role of mage to protect his city. Along with Gilgamesh and the summoned servants, Ritsuka and Mash must protect Uruk against the magical beast's onslaught and defeat the 3 goddesses' alliance, who aim to eradicate humankind. All the while, a greater threat looms over Uruk, preparing for its awakening. Starring award-winning actors as Seki Tomokazu as Gilgamesh, Takahashi Rii as Mash Kyrielite, Sakurai Takahiro as Merlin, Kobayashi Yu as Enkidu, Asakawa Yu as Anna, Shimazaki Nobunaga as Fujimaru Ritsuka, and so many other talented voice actors and amazing characters that appear in this show, and I really do mean so many others. I didn't know which ones to name, so I decided to name the more consistently main focus of this show. So that's what I did here. That is what I did, and but yeah, there is a lot more people involved with this show. Now that that's all out of the way, let's get into the story and characters part of this review. Okay, where do I start? The story of Fate Grand Order Absolute Demonic Front Babylonia is really long, and it doesn't feel that long. Well, no, it does feel long, but at the same time, it's pretty short. As I said before, the episodes consist of 20, 21, or 22, mainly 21 that actually progress the story, and then a final episode that kind of leads into the next series, which is the final singularity with Solomon. As far as this story goes, it follows the story of the mobile game Fate Grand Order pretty damn well. Of course, certain elements of the game are completely taken out of the show, which is understandable. It needs to be an adaptation of the game and not a direct copy of it. But for the most part, and I would say at least 90% of the time, it stays pretty much faithful, and it's pretty much the same. So if you've played the game, it's probably not gonna deviate too much off of the story that you know and probably like. But judging this as its own thing, separate as an adaptation, what are my thoughts on it? It's conflicting, that's for sure. One part of me does say that it's hard to watch if you do not know what's going on, because you won't understand it, and probably most people wouldn't even like it. But at the same time, it's a show made for fans and asked from the fans. I mean, this is what people wanted. They wanted to see Babylonia animated, and they got that. I got that. And from that point of view, I have to say, as a fan, I'm satisfied. Now, as a person who just watches anime, I don't know if other people would like this show. They'd probably be impressed by the action, but other than that, I don't know. Maybe they'd be confused. That being said, as a story as itself, how is it? The story of King Gilgamesh summoning these servants and, trying to fight this desperate, battle to try to survive as long as possible is very interesting and very entertaining. It is a great concept, and it is great in execution. Seeing Uruk, this massive city that's trying to defend itself, even when everything's in rubble, people are still trying to defend it. It is a great concept. It is a great idea. And I do like how this one is definitely more grandiose than other Fate anime that we've seen. Another thing that I really like about this is it really showcases the servant's strength. Not that other ones don't do that. For instance, Heaven's Feel Part 2 does a really great job of showing off how strong the servants are. But here you get to see even more of that, and it gets pretty damn insane. All the characters in the show are very likable. Every character essentially is a servant, except for the main character and I guess Sidori. But other than them, most of the characters are servants. Their portrayals are very well done. The animation behind them is also great. The voice acting, it's the same voice actors from the game, so of course they sound great. And like I said, bringing them to life in animation actually worked out really well. Actually, I would say that it worked out a lot better than the game, because there's a lot of characters in this show that actually look a lot better, or that I prefer compared to Fate Grand Order the game. For instance, Ushiwakamaru was a character I really like in the game, but I always thought she looked like a child, and I always thought that's kind of what they were trying to go for. In the anime, however, they definitely went for a more older woman approach, and I do prefer that look compared to her look in the video game. At the end of the day, it's just really fun. It's very great to see these characters that I like, and I'm sure everybody has the same feelings. Just seeing them being brought to life and being animated and being fully voice acted for the entirety of a series. And I couldn't wait to watch it, and I had a lot of fun watching it. It's definitely a lot of fan service. But I would be lying if I said I didn't have a few issues. Mainly with Fujimaru Ritsuka. Fujimaru is just kind of an annoying character. Mainly because he's so kind of dull. Now here's the thing. In the game, you play as him, so it's not that big of a deal. You're him. So you make the decisions and all the servants are paying attention to you. However, when they adapt that into an actual anime, it's pretty bizarre, because he's just kind of this generic goody-good guy, and there's really nothing else to him. He just wants to do the right thing. And he's just kind of the same character you've seen before, and they don't really try to develop him that much. There were a few instances in this anime in particular where I did see a slight bit of personality come out. For instance, there's one scene where he's geeking out about the fact that he's met the famous Ushiwakamaru, and he's telling the stories, and he's saying oh, we used to sing this as when I was a kid. That was really nice. That was a lot of personality. There are also other parts where he's with MASH, where he shows off a little bit of personality, but for a majority of the show, he is the straight man. He is the very much, main focal protagonist that everybody kind of knows, and everybody knows the tropes behind it, and it's just not all that interesting. But even with Fujimaru being kind of, bland, there are a lot of characters around him that are not bland. Romani, Leonardo da Vinci, Mash Kyriolite, all of these characters are great and likable, and throughout the course of the show you get to see them fully animated, and they are just great. They're a joy to listen to, they're a joy to watch, and I always was entertained. And I think that's really the key word about this anime in particular. Out of all the other Fate anime, I would say that this one is definitely the one that I didn't necessarily, I wasn't not sad, but I never felt like the characters were any in real danger. But it was tense when all this huge stuff is happening, and as it goes on, I'm not going to spoil too much, but all this stuff happens, and it just keeps escalating and escalating and escalating, and you do want to find out what happens to everybody. Of course, I already knew, but, still, a lot of what I love about this anime is the characters and the massive showcase of characters. All of them were great. All of them were greatly voice acted. So from that perspective, I really love the story. It's kind of hard to judge though, because while I do like the show a lot, I do like the story a lot, a majority of it comes from the characters, and the characters were developed in the game. Did they add anything to the show, the adaptation? They added a few things, but other than that, it's pretty much just the characters from the game brought to life, and that's really what people wanted. That's what I wanted too. So I do love the characters in the show, and I think the characters are what make up for any lack of, other things that other people might want. In terms of the story, I find the story very fascinating, interesting. I already knew what was going to happen, so it was kind of hard to say, oh, I'm on the edge of my seat, like, say, other anime, but that doesn't really deteriorate from the experience, because even though you do know what's going to happen, you don't know how it's going to happen and the way it happens, which will lead into my next topic, which is the presentation. Starting off with the animation of the show, this is the real showstopper. The animation is done by Cloverworks. They've done many other great shows, but this was spectacular. Now, I'm not going to lie, there were instances where I was a tad bit annoyed from the CGI. There is quite a bit of CGI in this show, mainly when things with the demonic beast, and you have, of course, Gorgon, who is completely CGI. Well, not always. When it just shows her face, she's not. When it shows her entire body, she's CGI. Tiamat is also CGI. Beast 2 is also CGI. Now, is it bad CGI? No, and that is one thing I will say. The CGI is actually not that bad, but at times it could be a little bit off-putting. But putting that aside, the show did a fantastic job with its animation. Every episode, I swear, every episode has an action scene. And every episode shows an action scene that seems like it's like the end season action scene. Like, this is the most impressive thing that the show was proud to put out, and they put at the very end. It kind of reminds me of, well, I don't know what it reminds me of, actually. I don't remember last seeing an anime that impressed me this much with how much action it had and how just amazingly animated it was. And it just kind of, it sucks, because then other shows that I really like that have great action scenes don't even come close to how amazing these scenes are and how impactful they are. The action scenes are really what sold the show for me. From the first episode, I was loving the action, and I thought it was amazing. From the trailer, I thought it was going to be great, and it was great. And it got even better and better and better as time went on. And I just could not stop, or I could not help but be impressed with the amount of work and effort that went into drawing all this. I think the best part of it is that every character gets their time to shine. Every servant, that is. All of them get to show off their noble phantasms, and they all get to have a cool action scene. Even characters that nobody really particularly likes that much, or didn't play that much of a role. Even Benki did a lot in the show, or he had his moment to shine as well. So even fans of Benki, there you go, you got what you want. And there are so many others. Quetzalcoatl was my personal favorite, and so was Ishtar, but that's just me. I also love Matt. Well, I love all the servants. And then, of course, Leonidas was also great. I think we've mentioned him quite a few times. But they all had their moments to shine. They all did a great job. And, well, they didn't do a great job. The people working on the animation did a fantastic job when animating the action scenes, and the noble phantasms were just, the pinnacle. And by far, I think nothing gets greater than Quetzalcoatl's unleashing her noble phantasm on Tiamat. It was definitely the highlight of the entire series. But not everything is great about this show. Let's get to the music. Alright, so the music is a big problem for me. A very big problem, because it's not generic music. In fact, most of the time, it's completely annoying and just completely ruins the mood type of music. A majority of the time, they use music from the game, which is fine. It fits, it works, whatever. But I was hoping to see some new music. The new music we get is not particularly good. Now, the ending outro for the second ending outro for Babylonia is nice, but it doesn't fit. And none of the music really fits. A lot of the time in the show, well, for one, the opening is completely terrible. I hate it. I despise it. It's a well-sung song, I'll give it that, but it does not get me in the mood for Fate, and it just completely does not fit. There's also certain times in the show where music will play during an action scene, and it again does not fit because it might be pop or it might be like this kind of weird love ballad bullshit that's going on in the background of like this really intense fight, and it's like, well, why is this here? What is happening? What does this show want me to feel? The thing about music in shows, in anime, whatever it might be, is that music is helped to enhance a person's emotions. Their emotional response to the scene sometimes depends on how the music is composed. And this is why I've always made it a big deal in my reviews, because the music is really what helps you with your emotions. It helps decide your emotions. Not all the time, of course, but most of the time. Here, it seems like they didn't know that rule, and they just thought, oh, if we just have good music, or popular music, I should say, then it'll be fine. Well, no, because it just ruins the mood completely. Every intro I just skipped. I skipped every intro because I could not stand to hear that song, and it just took me out of the mood. And I was always happy when it never showed up. As for the various love ballads that appear in this show, I don't know what they were thinking with that. Now, of course, they're not literally love ballads. I'm just saying that because that's what they sound like to me. And they're very bizarre, they're out of place, and they just don't work with what the series is trying to convey. You know, maybe for the final episode having the love ballad, that was satisfying. Finally, I was satisfied with the love ballad at the very end of the series. But towards the middle, the love ballad just made no sense. And like I said, during fight scenes, I don't want to listen to this horrible music, especially with lyrics that just doesn't fit. You don't see that in Heaven's Feel, for instance. Heaven's Feel has a fantastic singer behind it, but she doesn't sing during the actual movie. She sings at the end, in the credits. I don't know, but that's just my opinion. I thought the music was horribly disappointing. I think that was the most disappointing fact about the show. Other than that, I thought the show was great. Now, if I had to summarize this all into a few sentences, I would say simply that the show is very satisfying and it is very fan-servicey. Now, that's definitely not a problem. If you're a fan of Fate, you're going to love this show. If you love Fate Grand Order, you're going to love this show. You've already watched it, probably rewatching it multiple times. It's a great show, don't get me wrong. However, would I recommend it to any layman? No, absolutely not. First, I would recommend just try to start at the beginning of the Fate series and then work up to this at one point. Now, for any seasoned Fate fans who have been on the fence for some odd reason, yes, I would recommend it. If you have a basic understanding of what Grand Order is, then you'll be able to follow along pretty well. They explain everything in the beginning, and after that, you're just along for the journey. And thankfully, you can watch this somewhat. You can watch this as its own story, not even thinking about the other singularities. Just be like, okay, this is the absolute demonic front in Babylonia. Because for a majority of the show, that's what it's about, defending Babylonia. They hardly mention the other singularities or what comes after, or saving humanity, all that, yada yada yada. Most of the time it stays between Uruk and King Gilgamesh and, the servants and stuff like that. So thankfully it doesn't become boggled down by exposition. That being said, while I don't like the main character, Fujimaru, I do love MASH. I do like Romani, I do like Leonardo da Vinci, and I love all the servants that appear. Gilgamesh is probably my favorite version of Gilgamesh that I've ever seen. Enkidu, I don't know. I don't even remember everybody. I do, actually, but I don't want to name all of them right now. But they all are standout characters. They're all great, and they all get their moments to shine, which was very important to me. If I had to rate the show out of 10, I would give it an 8 out of 10. Why an 8? Well, because the show isn't perfect, mind you. There are things I dislike, and I absolutely hate, which is being the music. There are elements I thought could have been improved, but overall, the show is fantastic, and it is super entertaining. The action is amazing, the characters are all fantastic, And if the characters and the action are all fantastic, and the animation, I think that really does help provide more to the viewing experience, especially because these are characters you like, and these are characters you've wanted to be animated, so you get exactly that. They are animated, they are fully voice acted, and they're in amazing action scenes. And the animation in particular is the standout for me. I think they did a fantastic job. They worked super hard to achieve this, and it looks absolutely phenomenal. I was very impressed with this show. It's one of the ones I've been impressed with the most for a long time now, and I can't wait to see the last singularity, the final singularity with Solomon. Alright, but thank you guys for watching. Have you guys watched Fate Grand Order Absolute Demonic Front Babylonia? If you have, did you love it, hate it, don't care about it, never seen it, don't even like it, you hate me for even mentioning it? Let me know down in the comments down below, please. I read the comments, I respond because it is fun, and people who don't do it, I get upset. No, I'm kidding. Don't take me seriously. Anyways, as always, I'm Grant Forn for a review, and have a nice day.